We have a conversation with a teen advocate for safe haven baby boxes.
First, we should explain safe haven laws. So, each state in the US has legislation that allows for parents in crisis to safely relinquish their newborns to certain locations, like hospitals, where the babies are protected and provided with medical care until a permanent home is found. The first American safe haven law was enacted in 1999, but the concept is much older than that. In fact, it can be traced back to ancient times, like Moses in the Bible.
Overall, few babies have been surrendered in the U.S. compared to the number of children placed in foster care or adoption services. However, safe haven laws have come into national spotlight recently. Some supporters point to safe haven laws as an alternative to abortion, and some opponents have criticized the laws, saying that the people who relinquish their babies really need social services, not termination of their parental rights.
Like every issue, it's complicated. Student reporter Poojasai wanted to learn more, so she spoke with a teen advocate from Kentucky about her perspective.
So far, 9 states in our country have passed legislation that allows for baby boxes. Baby boxes are located in the outside walls of police stations, fire stations, or hospitals. A parent can safely and anonymously place a newborn there if they can't take care of them. Kentucky is one of the 9 states that has baby box locations, and that's because of one teenager named Isabella.
How did you get connected with Safe Haven Baby Boxes and become their teen spokesperson?
So in 2020, I was on my way to a doctor's appointment and I was just talking to my mom and I was like, I want to make these boxes because babies can't be left outside in unsafe environments, and I want to be able to make temperature controlled boxes the mother can put her baby inside. Well, my mom was like, well, there's an organization that does that. And I was like, what, really? So I did my research when I got home and I found Safe Haven Baby Boxes. I wrote an email to some representatives in my state of Kentucky and they never got back to me. So at the beginning of 2021, my mom suggested that I start a change.org petition. I also hadn't reached out to Safe Haven yet, so I started the petition and then I texted them, okay, I'm Isabella. I started this petition for the state of Kentucky because I believe that this is a really worthy cause. And Monica, the CEO, wanted to talk to me. I did a few news interviews and that kind of put it out there, and it allowed other people who also didn't know what this organization was to be able to learn about it, but also help sign my petition. And then we went through the legislation process and it passed legislation in March, and we had our first Safe Haven baby box in Kentucky on July 1st. It was so important for me to make this happen that they honored this box in my name.
I also understand that you were adopted. Would you be willing to tell that story?
Yes, I was abandoned when I was less than 2 days old in an orphanage in China. I lived in that orphanage up until I was almost 7 years old. It was a really rocky time for me. There was a lot of times where I was beaten and just all sorts of bad things. But my parents now, they started the paperwork process when I was 3 years old and they got me when I was 6. Now I live on a farm in Kentucky advocating for other babies, and I want to be able to do everything in my power to make sure that they have a home and a family that truly loves them.
How has your mental health changed over time, depending on your circumstances and experiences?
One thing that weighed on my mental health with being adopted is the thought of, well, why didn't my birth parents want me? I knew that they did what was best for me. And sometimes that's what you also have to remember as well, is that not everything works out like you hope. Even through the tough challenges and the hard times, it might seem like it's a never-ending hole and that you will never get out of it, but you will get through it. You will. The great news is that you can use this as part of your story because you really never know who you will be able to inspire later on. You could be talking to a stranger and it can completely change that person's life. If you can help one person, wouldn't that be worth it?
I just want to say thank you so much for giving me your time.
Thank you for interviewing me.